So far we have covered four physical quantities, four aspects of motion, right? Let's start with, we started with, sorry, let's get a pen. We started with distance and speed, and then we moved to displacement, and then we went to velocity. Right. So of the four, we know that displacement and velocity have direction and a numeric value. Right. So there are these are the four aspects that we have covered so far. Now there is a fifth aspect. With that, we'll be able to complete our chapter on motion before we move into deriving some formulas. Right. So to understand the fifth aspect beyond the four, let us consider two scenarios. Right. So excuse me for the lag. Yeah, things back. Okay. So let us consider two scenarios. The scenario one is you have a person who's actually walking along a straight line, and let's divide their path into three sections, right? Three sections of 10 seconds each. Now this person, in the first 10 seconds, starting from the origin, the first 10 seconds is able to cover 10 meters, and let's call it point A. In the next 10 seconds is able to cover 20 meters, and in the next 10 seconds is able to cover 30 meters. Right. So this is on the 10th second, and this is on the 20th second, and this is on the 30th second. Right. So just to be clear, so this person is walking along the straight line, and every 10 seconds, which means that at the 10th second he has covered 10 meters, and between 10 and 20 seconds he has covered 20 meters, and between 20 and 30 seconds he has covered 30 meters. Now what does it say about this person? Which means that the velocity has been different in all the three sections, right? So when I say velocity, is the magnitude of the velocity, right? So magnitude of velocity is equal to 10 over 10, which is equal to 1 meter per second between this part, between 0 and A, right? Between O and A is 1 meter per second. However, the magnitude of velocity here is going to be 20 by 10, which is equal to 2 meters per second between A and B. Similarly, the magnitude of velocity here is going to be 30 by 10, which is equal to 3 meters per second, which is between B and C. Right? Now, this object, if you really see here, this particular person, velocity is changing. That is, he's moving faster. His rate of change of position is increasing as he moves away from O, right? And if you also notice that the rate at which he is acquiring that additional velocity is also constant, which means that his between A and between OA and AB, he has acquired an additional 1 meter per second. Similarly, between B and C, he has acquired an additional 1 meter per second, right? Now, some objects can behave this way also, and what we call those objects are like when an object's velocity changes at a certain rate, right? We call those objects as those objects are accelerating. So in this case, this object is accelerating at a certain rate. We say that because this object's velocity is changing at a certain rate. It is like you're starting your car, and then your car it starts. You call it a pickup car or your bike. Right? It starts when you're at rest, and then your velocity changes pretty quickly for the first few seconds until you get onto a constant speed, constant velocity. Right? So that phase is called that's when your car is actually accelerating. So the first aspect that is acceleration, and acceleration is defined as the rate of change of velocity, and which means that if your object is if the initial velocity of the object, right? If the initial velocity of the object is considered as u, and if the final velocity of the object is considered v, then acceleration is equal to v minus u by t. So t is the time measured between u and v. So this is your acceleration. Now, if you take this specific example, let's take the acceleration between between v and c, right? So between v and c, so here your u is actually 2 meters per second. Because until point B, your acceleration of the velocity at point B was the object was traveling at 20. It was able to cover 20 meters in 10 seconds. So the velocity is 2 meters per second. But at C, the velocity is actually 3 meters per second, right? So which means that your acceleration here is okay. Your acceleration here is 3 minus 2 divided by 10 seconds, which is equal to 1 by 10, which is equal to 0.1. 0.1 is your acceleration. And again, what is the unit for acceleration? The unit for acceleration is meters per second squared. Why is that so? Because acceleration is your numerator for acceleration is velocity, right? So the velocity's unit is meters per second, and in your denominator you have seconds, so which is equal to meters per second squared. So that is your unit for acceleration. One thing I think we missed is, or we didn't make it explicit, is the units for velocity and displacement is also similar to speed and distance. So the unit for velocity is also meters per second, and the unit for displacement is meters, right? Just that your velocity and displacement have a direction aspect too, right? Okay. So one thing here is now that you've seen what acceleration is, let's consider another scenario of an object, right? Another object which is another person, and let's say that this person has a slightly different behavior. So which means that this person covers similar to the earlier scenario. Here also, let's take the scenario of in the 10th second we'll split their path into 3 sections. There's a 10th second, 20th second, and the 30th second. So the difference here is that this person travels the first 10 seconds. He travels 30 meters, and in the next 10 seconds he travels 20 meters, and in the next 10 seconds he travels 10 meters. Right? Now, the behavior is opposite to what this person does. So this person covered, traveled with the higher velocity, traveled with a slower velocity in the beginning, and then he increased the velocity. But here this person travels with if you really capture the velocity here, the magnitude of velocity is equal to 3 meters per second. Here it is going to be 2 meters per second, and here it is going to be 1 meter per second. So here the velocity decreases for this person over a period of time, and also the rate of change of velocity, which means that your acceleration is also going to be decreasing. Right now, in fact, it is not going to be decreasing. It is going to be negative because your speed is coming down. Right. So your acceleration between these 2 points. If you really see, if you calculate the acceleration between point or similar to the earlier scenario, if you try to capture the acceleration between point B and C, right? So your U is equal to 2 meters per second, and your V is equal to 1 meter per second, and acceleration is equal to V minus V, which is 1 minus 2 by 10, and which is equal to minus 1 by 10, which is equal to minus 0.1 meters per second, right? Meters per second square, right? So this is your acceleration for this object. Now we see that, which means that the rate of change of velocity is negative, right? Which means that this object is slowing down. Right, this specific person is actually slowing down. By exhibiting this behavior, this person is actually slowing down, and while this person is actually picking up speed. Right, this person is picking up speed. Or I should say picking up velocity. Right. So what the other way to say this is, the acceleration when you are picking up. What the other way to say that is, this object is undergoing positive acceleration, and when you are slowing down, this object is actually undergoing negative acceleration. So we have positive acceleration and we have negative acceleration. And the only final thing we'll have to be aware of is, some objects' acceleration can be uniform, which means that in this case, constantly, right, between 0 and A and B, and between B and C, the rate of acceleration has always been 0.1 meters per second. Right, so which means that the acceleration is constant here. The rate at which the velocity changes is also constant. And some objects can have non-uniform acceleration, which means that it need not be constant. The rate of change of velocity need not be constant between points, and those are also possibilities. I just want you to be aware of that too.
One final thing before you leave. If you wish to revise the concepts that you've just learned, please look up and try out the free Revise app bot on Telegram app. Telegram is available for free on both iPhone and Android. Also, if you did like the content that you just watched, please do like, share, and subscribe this with your friends. Thank you.